Let's run a speed test. Hello, what I've done here, running an internet speed test, is something that more and more people are becoming increasingly infatuated with. I don't quite know why. Maybe it's because no one quite understands. From these numbers, I can say that the speed my computer, this great big box here, is receiving is not what I'm paying for coming through my router. I'm not alarmed by this because I know that the incoming speed to the router is in fact exactly what I pay for, as in it is the upload and download speed that I signed up for. My computer is not physically capable of connecting at the speeds that the router is capable of dishing out a network connection, which is a really bad way of explaining that this doesn't have a gigabit compatible network interface. It is basically capped at 100 megabits per second, which once you add in the overheads means you're getting an internet speed of around 90 megabits per second. The only thing that's very accurate is the upload speed of nearly 30 megabits per second, because the exact speeds that is on my subscription if internet service in my office is 150 over 30, which is quite odd considering this utilizes fiber to the premises. In fact, the fiber connection is on the other side of this wall. There's no real reason for the speeds to be slowed. But that's all a marketing ploy, really. Some companies advertise full fiber or full fat fiber or half fiber or quarter fiber. It's all exactly the same. The real difference is in how they set up your subscription or your account. They will limit how much data or how much bandwidth is assigned to your connection. Now, recently, a lot of my customers from Command AV are getting increasingly annoyed at the fact that when they do a speed test on their mobile devices, be it phone, laptop, iPad, other tablets, they are not seeing the speeds that they are paying for. And a lot of that is largely to do with the fact that for quite a while, Wi-Fi equipment and networking equipment completely outpaced the capabilities of the internet speeds that we could receive. For instance, even an access point like this or this, these are both several years old. This Ubiquiti access point was released around 2018. That's 6 years old. It's still faster. The wireless radio is still capable of transmitting and receiving data faster than most internet connections. The same goes for this Luxor access point. This one too, about 6 years old, is also capable of transmitting data faster than most internet connections, especially DSL internet connections. Oftentimes I tell my customers not to worry too much about the internet speeds they are seeing on their phones. However, my comforting words do not suffice. See, they are paying for a service. They expect to receive that service, and when they don't receive that service, they get upset. The problem is, now we are going into the realm of receiving gigabit plus internet connection speeds, which is crazy because most wireless devices are still only capable of sending and receiving wireless data at speeds of around 150 to 300 megabits per second. Even the most modern phones and wireless devices generally top out at around 600 megabits per second. Unless, of course, you have a top-of-the-range Wi-Fi 6 device and a very well configured and built Wi-Fi 6 network. The thing about internet speed, what you pay for, it is called bandwidth for a reason. I'm going to use a very basic analogy using some numbers, arbitrary numbers. So let's say you have a 1 megabit per second connection speed. Let's compare that to a single carriageway road. One car can go one way, one car can go the other way. That's your bandwidth, one at a time. Say you pay for 2 megabit connection speed. Now this is comparable to, say, a dual carriageway with 2 lanes either side. 2 cars going either way. Now, the cars are the mobile devices that you're using. So for each additional connection within your internal network, your Wi-Fi network, it requires a chunk of bandwidth. So previously, with slower internet speeds, it was divided up evenly amongst all the devices that were there, so to speak, when they were using it. There are overheads, essentially, so where a device is only capable of, say, sending and receiving at 300 megabit per second, you may have an incoming internet speed of 500 megabit per second, which means even when that one device is fully utilizing a wireless connection, there is still space for other devices to connect at almost full speed. Let's take, for example, if someone has a 1 gigabit up and down internet connection speed and they have 3 devices all connecting at around 300 megabits per second. That means those 3 devices can utilize 300 megabit per second connections to the internet simultaneously, and there is still 100 megabits of bandwidth left over at the top for another device to connect. But that's not how it works. Every time you add more devices, it still does divide everything up amongst everything. But of course, it doesn't allocate that exact bandwidth to each device. Otherwise, everything would be running very slowly. No, the bandwidth is dynamically allocated as and when things require it. So if you've got someone walking around the house with their mobile phone trying to do speed tests over Wi-Fi, then it will allocate the majority of the available resources to that device. Anyway, I feel like I'm going in circles here. Long story short, the service you pay for, the incoming internet speed, can be whatever it is. The fact is, you will never see those speeds on your mobile device. You definitely won't see it on devices where it doesn't have a compatible network interface. Then of course there's the whole thing of 2.4 gig Wi-Fi and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, etc. Generally speaking, 2.4 gig Wi-Fi, so like older laptops, older phones, they will hit a hard cap of around 300, maybe 350 megabit per second in a really good Wi-Fi network. And then with 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi connections, generally speaking, it's around 600 to 650 megabits per second, with the very rare occasion that you might see it peak around 800, but I've only seen this once. To do a true internet speed test, you need to disconnect everything from the network, so everything from the router. Then hardwire one device with a very capable network connection. If you've got a gigabit incoming line, chances are you're still going to be hitting the cap with a 1 gigabit network interface. Ideally, you want something that is capable of 2.5 gig or 10 gig Ethernet. That way you can do a true speed test. But either way, you run the speed test on one device wired to the router with nothing else connected. Because realistically speaking, doing a speed test any other way is basically the same as trying to see how fast your car can go when you're sitting in traffic on the M25. All that bandwidth is there, but all that bandwidth is being used by other devices, i.e. the other cars on the road. I apologise if I've babbled on a bit, gone around in circles or explained myself, mansplained myself too many times there. It's something that if I didn't get out of my head, I was going to go mad. So, yeah.